Shalom everyone, praise, honor, and esteem to Abba YAHUAH through his son Yahushua HaMashiach. In case you want to get in touch with us, here are our contact details. You can also support us in a variety of ways. And I hope you will find this video useful. No matter how clear the scriptures are about this question, most people will never understand it, as they won't understand other things either. Did most people understand, Yahusha wouldn't have to say this: Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Meaning just that, most people will never understand the truth, rather never accept it, or seek it, and cling unto it. The reason for this comes to us from Shaul, as so often it does. 2 Thessalonians 2nd chapter 10th verse, because they received not the love of truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause, Yahuwah shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. This statement goes for Israel, the bloodline descendants, and for the Gentiles. The majority of the world, the majority of Christianity and Hebrew Israelites are all at fault. Although there have been many consistent messages throughout the scriptures, one of them, I think, stands out. This message could be found everywhere. This is one example. For the scripture says, Whosoever believes on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew, Yahudim, and the Greek Yavanim. For the same sovereign over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. This sentence can be found in Yoel, 2nd chapter 31 and 32, as well as Maaseh, Acts of the Apostles, 2nd chapter 21. This is plain as day, talking about all people, anyone, everyone. Any tribe, any nation, anybody. Whosoever believes on him and calls upon his name will be saved. There is absolutely no difference between Jew, Greek, anybody. Of course, after that, man proves his belief by his works and his righteousness. But that is for a different day. This is what Shaul writes in the next chapter, Romans 11. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle or shalach of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. This Gentile is G1484 ethnos, a multitude associated or living together, whether of man or beast, a company, swarm, multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus, human family, tribe, nation. These are Israelites and the nations. This whole chapter and the whole logic doesn't make sense if we say this is about scattered Israelites. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. His flesh is Israel. His flesh is not Judah, he was a Benjamite. His flesh is Israel. He wants to provoke to emulation his flesh, Israel, by sending and giving this message to the nations. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, the Israelites were cast away, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? They were cast away, and now they are being reconciled. For if the first fruit be set apart, the lump is also set apart. And if the root be set apart, so are the branches. The first fruit and the root is Yahushua HaMashiach. Yehukanan or John 15, first, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bears not fruit he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. I am the vine, ye are the branches. The branches are people, nations, tongues, tribes. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakes of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. Yahushua HaMashiach is the root, and Israel, the whole Israel, are the branches. They are the natural branches. The wild tree are all the other nations, and I understand that in the Tanakh we can see examples of the wild olive tree being Ephraim. That doesn't mean that this is the same logic, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So it cannot be Ephraim. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. You will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Those broken branches were the northern tribes. And therein comes the problem. Christianity boasts that now they are the true vine, and Israel should be grafted into them, whilst the Hebrew Israelites say that they are the broken branches, and they are the wild olive tree, and no one else can be grafted in. It is very simple, and YAHUAH through Shaul will explain this. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. Those people did not believe, hence they weren't obedient, and YAHUAH cast them away, divorced from the northern tribes. But now, you, as nations, are being grafted in. Do not think that for if Elohim spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not you. For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, it isn't a metaphor, it is wild by nature. This is nations. And were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? We can add our theology and thoughts and feelings and all that into this. But what it says is plain as day. Wild by nature, this cannot be Israel, because they aren't wild by nature, they are the natural branches. These are the nations, ethnos, contrary to nature. If I graft olive trees into one another, that's fine. But if I try to graft a wild one into a natural one, that is called contrary to nature. Natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree. These are two different, distinct, separate plants or trees. One of them is Israel, the other one are all the other nations. And this is the mystery. For if I would not, brethren, that all of you should be ignorant of this mystery. Mysterion G 3466. Hidden thing, secret, mystery. Generally mysteries, religious secrets. Confined only to the initiated and not to ordinary mortals. This is the reason why most people don't understand. Because this is confined only to the initiated and not to ordinary mortals. A mystery, a hidden or a secret thing, a hidden purpose or counsel of man or of Elohim, the secret counsels which govern Elohim in dealing with the righteous which are hidden from un-Elohimly, and wicked man but plain to the Elohimly. The mystery isn't that Israel is going to be one nation. That's not a mystery, that's always been like that. Ezekiel 37 says that in the valley of dry bones that Israel is going to be one nation. The mystery, this mystery, is that the Gentiles will be fellow heirs with Israel. Otherwise it wouldn't be a mystery. Everyone knew that Israel is going to be one people one day with David and Yahushua HaMashiach ruling the world. The mystery was that all other people will take part in this. Lest all of you should be wise in your own conceits. Like the world, they think they understand. They say that Israel is only the bloodline Israel. The other says that everyone else is Israel. Now we all Israel, no matter what we do, just need to believe in Jesus. But that's not the truth. That blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. The fullness of the Gentiles is not the northern tribes. It never was and it never will be. The fullness of the Gentiles refers to all nations, including the northern tribes. That's why it is fullness. Otherwise it wouldn't be fullness, it would be separate. Everyone who believes and calls upon Ab Yahuwah's name and believes in Yahushua HaMashiach is Israel. And they all will be saved, and they all will be ruling. So all Israel shall be saved. All Israel is Israel and the believer Gentiles. Shaul says that, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion a deliverer, and shall turn away unElohimliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. This is what the Ruach HaKodesh says through Shimeon. This is what was revealed unto him by the Ruach HaKodesh, that he should not see death before he had seen Yahuwah's Mashiach. And he came by the Ruach into the temple or Heichal. 3 times mentioned the Ruach. This person was prophesying through the Ruach HaKodesh. This is not his thoughts, his opinions, his feelings. This is a message from Ab Yahuwah by the Ruach. They brought the little child Yahusha to him. He held it in his arms, blessed Elohim, and this is what he said. Yahuwah, now let your servant depart in peace according to your word, for mine eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared before the face of all people, not Israel or Israel, all people, a light to lighten the Gentiles, and the esteem of your people Israel. These are 2 separate groups, there is no way around it. A light to lighten the Gentiles, and the esteem of your people Israel. The whole Israel is one group, and the other group are all the believer, other people, the Gentiles. This person was a light to the Gentiles, Yahushua HaMashiach. And this was of course nothing new. He understood what most people don't seem to understand today. Thus says Elohim Yahuwah, he that created the heavens and stretched them out, he that spread forth haaretz, or the earth, and that which comes out of it, he that gives breath unto the people upon it, and ruach to them that walk therein. I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness. This is the Mashiach, and will hold your hands, and will keep you, and give you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. This is not Israel, or the scattered Israel, or the northern tribes. These are the nations and Israel. The exact same message as Shimeon said, this is Yeshayahu 49:6, and he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel, tribes of Jacob or Jacob, and the preserved of Israel. It is all Israel, the whole house, preserved, tribes of Jacob. You cannot get around this. And there is another group of people who are not Israel. Plain as day, Gentiles, nations, other people, believers, that you may be my salvation unto the end of haaretz. The end of earth, haaretz, means all nations will see this and will hear this and will be part of this. And in Revelation or Chazon, 21st chapter, we still see the same message. And I saw new heaven and new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yahukanon, saw the set-apart city, New Jerusalem or Yerushalayim, coming down from Elohim out of Shamaim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. This is the set-apart city, the New Yerushalayim. And yes, there were 12 gates according to the 12 tribes of Israel, 12 pearls. There was no Heichal, for Yahuwah Elohim Almighty and the Lamb are the Heichal of it. And the city had no need of sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. For the esteem of Elohim did lighten it up, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And concentrate now, the nations, the Gentiles, ethnos of them which are saved, shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of Haaretz do bring their esteem and honor into it. The nations of them which are saved. And the gates of it shall not be shut all by day, the 12 gates, by the names of the tribes of Israel, for there shall be no night there. There are no shut doors there. And they shall bring the esteem and honor of the nations into it. If we move on to the next chapter, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the tree of it, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, 12 months. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Thayer's G 1484. Multitude, tribe, nation. In the Old Testament, foreign nations not worshipping the true Elohim, pagans, Gentiles. Shaul uses the term for Gentile Christians, the followers of HaMashiach. These are the nations. This is not Israel. That is one nation. The leaves of this tree were for the healing of the nations, the Gentiles, ethnos. This is the same conclusion Peter came to in Acts Maaseh, 10th chapter. Then Kepha or Peter opened his mouth and said, truthfully, I perceive he understood the dream. That was not about eating all sorts of different things. That Elohim is no respecter of persons. This was the meaning of the dream or the vision. And here's the conclusion. But in every nation, he that fears him and works righteousness is accepted with him. In every nation, these are not Israelites in every nation. In every nation, Israelites and everyone else, he that fears him. Doesn't matter what tribe, what nation, what language, tongue, whatever you are. Work righteousness and fear him. And in any nation, you will be accepted with him. And further proof, the same chapter, 45th verse, and they of the circumcision which believed were astonished. These are believer Yahudim. Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, who believed in Yahushua HaMashiach, and walked with Kepha and the Shalachim. They were astonished, as many as came with Kepha, because that on the Gentiles, the nations, also was poured out the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. They wouldn't have been surprised had these people been Israelites. That's always been obvious to these people that there will be one nation. In Ezekiel chapter 11, chapter 36, Jeremiah 31st chapter, all talks about the Ruach being poured out on the whole house of Israel. It would defy logic if we wanted to say that this is Israelites in other nations. This has nothing to do with Israelites in other nations. These are natural Gentiles, anything other but Israel. Not the northern tribes, not the cast out, Gentiles. This is why they were astonished. Can any man forbid water that these should not be baptized, which have received the Ruach HaKodesh as well as we? Yahushua HaMashiach was walking all over the place, trying to spread the good news, heal the sick, cleanse the leper, and wake up the lost tribes of Israel. Matter of fact, he sent his Shalachim out with this message that go ye not into the land of the Samaritans, or the way of the Gentiles, but go ye to the lost sheep of the tribes of Israel. So they knew Israel will be saved. The astonishment was caused by the fact that these were natural Gentiles. How can this be missed? That is a mysterion or a secret. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. Otherwise, why would he talk about all these facts about this person if it was an Israelite? They already knew Israelites going to be saved. He didn't have to say that. A devout man, and one that feared Elohim with all his house, which gave much alms to the people, and prayed to Elohim always. His servants identify Cornelius as a centurion, a just man, and one that fears Elohim. Good report among all the nation of the Yahudim. Was warned from Elohim by a set-apart malach to send for you into his house and to hear the words of you. He wasn't a Yahudim or Israel, but he had a good report among these people. Let me end with this. Shaul's letter to the Romans, 5th chapter. Wherefore as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. This is not talking about the Mosaic law, Israel's law, the covenant, and whatever. This is talking about all men after the sin of Adam. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed where there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moshe, even over them that had not sinned after the embodiment of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come, Yahushua HaMashiach. Death reigned on all mankind, every nation, tongue, tribe. But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. So the gift is unlike the offense. For if through the offense of one man many be dead, much more the favor of Elohim and the gift by favor, which is by one man, Yahushua HaMashiach, has abounded unto many. Death have been passed on to all people, and now the gift, the favor, could be passed on to many people. And not as it was by one that sinned, so is the gift, for the judgment was by one to condemnation, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. All our sins, transgressions, and iniquities will be forgiven. That's the free gift of many offenses unto justification. Otherwise there would be condemnation. For if by one man's offense death reigned by one, much more they which receive abundance of favor and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one Yahushua HaMashiach. By one man's offense death reigned on all people, so all people needed a Mashiach. Elohim Yahuwah chose the nation of Israel to bring this Mashiach forth to the world, but that doesn't mean this is just for them. That's silly. Actually rather stupid, I think. The offense caused everyone to die, and then bringing forth a savior that only pertains to a small portion of the people. Why would that be? Israel wasn't better than anybody. How would that be righteous from Elohim? Even in the case of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham pleaded for the people in those cities and said, would Elohim destroy the just with the unjust? Because there is always a mediator. And this is Yahushua HaMashiach for all people. Therefore, as by the offense of one, judgment came upon all men to condemnation, all people were under judgment, awaiting death. Even so by the righteousness of one, the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. All men under sin, all men receiving the gift. There is no way around these scriptures. I read it once more and I finish. Thereof, as by the offense of one, judgment came upon all men to condemnation, even so, by the righteousness of one, the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. And all men means all mankind, because judgment came upon all mankind, hence gift comes upon all mankind unto justification of life, provided they fear Elohim and do righteousness, as it is written, Acts 10th chapter. Therefore all who believe and do righteousness are Israel. There is one nation salvation is for, and that is Israel, consisting of natural branches and wild branches, and that is the body of Yahushua HaMashiach, the believers. Should you want to get in touch with us, here's our contact details, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. In case you'd like to support us, that's much appreciated. Praise, honor, and esteem to Abba Yahuwah through his Son Yahushua HaMashiach. Shalom.